Hey, welcome back. It's another episode of the You Like That Feels Great Baby podcast. I'm your host, Erik Stenholm, along with my co-host, Joey Moore. We're back for one more AFC preview pod before we get to the big one where we cover Joey's favorite team, the Niners, my favorite team, the Vikings, and my brother's favorite team, the Seahawks. That's the big one next week. But this week, we got to plow through the AFC North and AFC West. Two divisions that I don't think are getting as much respect as maybe they should. I think these are probably two of the best divisions in football. Last year, everybody and their mother thought it was going to be AFC West was like one of the best divisions in the history of football. It didn't end up that way. This year, I think it's flying a little bit under the radar. I also think the North may actually be one of the two best divisions in the NFL as well. So excited to get to it, Joey. But first, before we get to the AFC North, we got to talk about what happened down here in LA, man. You were texting me about it. People were like, is everything okay? And I was like, oh, it's just a little bit of rain. It was actually pretty wild because there was a hurricane thrown in, or a hurricane and an earthquake thrown in at the same time. It was rocking and rolling down here for a good, 20, 30 seconds. And then everybody's like, oh my God, hurricane and earthquake at the same time. It's like a bad movie, man.
California panics a lot quicker than other people around the country because we don't get it too often, as often as other people. Yeah, I was texting you. I remember when we had like the worst winter ever, relative out here. Like it was the most rain. I think it was the most rain since like 18, whatever. The year started with an 18, not a 20, not a 19. It was 18 something. How much rain we had. And like, I was freaking out. I was just like, we're going to flood. This whole thing's going to go under. And like, I bet most of the country calls that like a Tuesday. But yeah, I saw some pictures. It looked, it was wet.
The local news was just insanity. Like it was almost like they were getting old local reporters out of retirement, like batten down the hatches. We need everybody. It was absolutely nuts, man. And it really didn't end up being, the earthquake was a 5.1 and it definitely, I was sitting on the couch and Jamie was at her workstation out in the living room and bam, it like shook us really good once. And I was like, oh shit. And then like literally an hour and a half later is when the eye of the storm went over LA and it was a ton of rain. I was like, oh, this actually didn't end up being that bad. I wake up the next morning. We went on a walk to like go get some breakfast. And I was like, oh shit. There's a lot of people in our neighborhood without water. There was like knee-high water on Melrose, which is like a block away from where we live. And I was like, okay, we got pretty lucky. We never lost power. We never lost water. But I just had to bring that up, man. It was wild to have the first hurricane in Southern California in like 80 years and a simultaneous earthquake. But we fought through it, and we're going to be all right. Pretty wild situation down here, but let's head over to the AFC North. Let's just get started. Last week we ran a little long with the pod, and we want our listeners to not have to just listen to us drone on and on. Let's just plow right into it. AFC North. Yeah. I want winners. I don't know why, but Mike Singletary's been in my head a lot lately. Like every time I see someone acting a fool, I'm just like, I want to go full Mike Singletary on him. I want winners. I want players who want to win. Like, miss that guy. Now the Niners are run by like competent individuals. I miss those days.
Can't do it. I like the can't do it more than the
can't do it.
I remember his hat was off there. He looked drained. Anyways.
Yeah, he was always pretty swole too. Like on the sideline, I remember thinking, man, he could probably still play linebacker if you didn't have Willis and Bowman already. All right, AFC North. Let's get into it. Anything in the AFC North has to start with Cincinnati. They've won the division back-to-back years. They have the best quarterback in the division, maybe second or third best quarterback in the NFL. It's Burrow and Taylor again. Everybody knows my thoughts on Zach Taylor. I have a little bit more respect for him going into this season with the job he did last year in the face of some injuries and adversity than I did in 2021, where it was literally just Burrow and Chase carrying him to that point. But last year, 2022, 7th on offense, 5th on defense. They added Orlando Brown to be their starting left tackle. They really needed O-line help last year, and they need it again this year. And I think that's a big add to them. They obviously have Chase, Higgins, and Boyd. I mean, that's as good as a 1, 2, 3 as I've seen in the NFL in a long time at the wide receiver position. They added former Viking Irv Smith at tight end. Joe Mixon is still there. Apparently, he was about to be cut or waived and agreed to a pay cut, so it will be Mixon again.
Smart move.
Yeah, smart move with the way the running back market is. They were 29th in rushing last year, so they're going to need more from Mixon this year than they got from him last year. And then on defense, 23rd ranked pass defense in 2022, but they replaced both safeties. So, there's a lot of pressure on the rookie DE Miles Murphy and second-year safety Dax Hill to improve that pass defense. It was a bit of a sieve last year, but it all goes through Burrow. It all goes through Zach Taylor, and I have them going 12-5 this year. Where do you have the Bengals at?
Same. I love Cincinnati. I loved them last year. I think when we did the playoff preview, I had them winning the Super Bowl, right?
Yep, over the Niners.
Yeah. I love Cincinnati. I think Joseph Lee Burrow is a rock star. I love him. 12-5. I don't know if we're doing season predictions. Probably will in a couple weeks here. I probably haven't gone far.
Yeah,
I love them. The only thing, like you said,
Cincinnati.
the only thing they have, weapons everywhere. I think their defense is a lot better than people think. The only thing that's ever been if they could keep Burrow upright, and like you said, Orlando Brown's a huge add, especially getting him from Kansas City. They lose a guy, top of the AFC food chain. You sign him. I love Cincinnati. The only thing is just keeping him healthy, keeping his appendix right, keeping his calf, whatever it is. It's something every training camp with Mr. Burrow. But no, I fully expect them to a tough AFC North. This is a damn good division, but I expect them to go 12-5. And
yeah, we'll get into it. It's a very good division, but I think last year you were as pro Cincinnati as anybody. And this year, confident in them again. I think the deciding factor for you and for a lot of people is the contract for Burrow isn't insane yet. Like, this is the last year of he's still on a very affordable deal. So it's like that roster is much more stacked than like a Buffalo who's now paying, Josh Allen over the next few years, $50+ million.
I saw this on the internet. I forgot where I got it, but they were 11-0 when they scored 21 points.
Mm-hmm. That sounds about right.
They were like well below 500 in games they didn't. So they get 21, which their offense should get to 21. They should be pretty good. Yeah,
that defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo, and this is going to be his third season in a row where he's kind of flying under the radar.
And Zach Taylor's got to be doing something right.
Yeah,
I was like you, like I don't know, is he just like another, like just fancy, like let's just hire the quarterback coach or the offensive coordinator from one of these, Shanahan, McVay, whoever. But I know he's got Joe Burrow, but I like to give Andy Reid credit, even though he's got Mahomes, and I have to give him credit.
Yeah, I think we've all done a little bit of a 180 on Zach Taylor going into the Super Bowl in 2021. I was like, is this the worst head coach ever to appear in a Super Bowl? And now I have to eat crow because, this is the third year in a row where they're a top AFC contender. So we both have Cincy going 12-5. I have them winning the division. However, I have them winning the division on a tiebreaker with Baltimore, who I also have going 12-5. It's Lamar Jackson again. He's back. He got the contract situation dealt with. John Harbaugh back for, it's got to be his 16th season, I believe, there in Baltimore, because he started in, what would that be, 08? Yeah, this is 16th season. Last year, they were 19th on offense, but obviously Lamar was hurt for, I believe, 5 or 6 games, and they were third in scoring defense. So a great defensive unit year after year. I believe 4 out of the last 5 years they've been in the top 5 in scoring defense. The big reason that I have them going 12-5 is Greg Roman is out and Todd Monken is in. From all reports at camp, including this great article I read the other day by the beat reporter there for The Athletic, that offense is going to be almost identical to the offense Lamar Jackson ran at Louisville when he won the Heisman Trophy. It is going to be a run and gun offense. It is not going to be the Greg Roman plotting, only throw it to the tight end offense. Things are going to get turned loose, and because of that, guys like OBJ, who's on a 1-year deal, Zay Flowers, the rookie, who looked awesome in the Monday Night Football game yesterday.
I love Zay Flowers.
I have high hopes for Baltimore, 12-5. Is that too high? Where do you have them?
That's too high for me. I just don't. I have no confidence Lamar's going to stay healthy for 17 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the offensive coordinator hire. I think John Harbaugh's a damn good coach, but like Odell's coming off an injury too. Like, what's he going to look like? Their defense is not good. It was like it. They blew some
it was
leads
lucky
last year.
last year for sure.
Like they did just sign Clowney, so hopefully maybe for them that helps them in their pass rush. But I've never been the biggest Ravens guy with Lamar. I mean, I love Lamar, as a teammate and stuff. But I mean, we'll see if he does well with them trying to throw the ball more. I don't like. I have to see it right now. It doesn't because I believe they've had good enough receivers and good enough offensive talent. I just I mean, wasn't he super tight with Hollywood Brown and he's like, I don't want to play here anymore. Like they just don't. It hasn't. I haven't seen it. I have them going 10-7. Still a good, decent season, 10-7, but no, I don't have. I think 12-5 is a little bit rich.
So I think, you're definitely down on the defense. Last year, the defense was 26th in passing yards allowed. So that is definitely a big.
They have a good player. I mean, Marlon Humphrey's a darn good corner. I don't think they re-signed Marcus Peters.
It's Williams and Stevens on the back end. So it's like there's worry there both on performance and injury. I think they'll have a good pass rush. I think Roquan Smith. I mean, last year he's an absolute beast. They gave him a huge contract. He needs to keep playing at that level to be worthy of that contract, which kind of set the market for linebackers. But the reason I believe, like I said, is that offense. I watched yesterday, and Josh Johnson made that offense look really good, especially Zay Flowers. I'm like, what is Lamar going to do?
Zay Flowers is I was high on him coming out of the draft. I thought, I mean, he's more than just a little, diminutive, screen catching receiver. Like, I mean, he can really play, and he honestly might be their number one receiver right off the bat.
I think so too. I picked him in fantasy in my first draft of the year yesterday.
I really like him.
Yeah, so I'm high on Baltimore.
If they can stay healthy, I mean, they should win at least 10 games. But again, I don't think Lamar has shown he can stay healthy. Plus, I'm not sold on the whole contract thing. Something was weird. And they just gave him I was just like, I wonder if there's some residual feelings. I don't know. Either way, doesn't sound like
especially with him being unavailable for.
He sounds really happy. He sounds like him and Todd Monken are getting all along. He's like, oh yeah, he takes my input on the plays and everything. Which is, I mean, I just have to see it. And I think they're in a tough division.
Yeah, I like their schedule, the way it breaks for them to start hot. I mean, they play with Houston at home to start the season, so I'm like, okay, W. But I actually didn't give the numbers here. Cincinnati's over-under is 11.5, and they're plus 160 to win the division. Baltimore's over-under is 9.5, shaded way to the over, or 10.5, shaded way to the under. They're plus 225 to win the division. Kind of like that plus 225 to win the division for Baltimore, given that I have them tying with Cincinnati. I did have Cincinnati with the tiebreaker on conference record since they split the games in my sim. So for me, that's kind of the clear 1-2 in the division. I think there's a lot of people who maybe think Baltimore is closer to the Pittsburgh-Cleveland tier, but I have them head and shoulders above that tier. Let's go to Cleveland next. Cleveland's over-under set at 9.5. They're plus 340 to win the division. That's their longest odds in a while. This is a team that is basically Deshaun Watson or bust. If he's a great player again, the way he was 2017 to 2020 for Houston, they are probably an AFC contender. If he is what he was last year, rusty and ineffective, it's going to be a very long season there in Cleveland. Last year, behind Jacoby Brissett and a slew of other guys, eventually culminating in Deshaun Watson, they were 18th on offense, 20th in defense. Basically, it's all about Deshaun. I believe they have, obviously, an elite running back in Chubb, elite O-line. I would say above-average pass catchers. The question is just, can Stefanski resurrect Watson, or is he cooked? I mean, he's got all the pieces on offense to succeed. I think they added Elijah Moore, who I think is a very underrated player. It's all there for Cleveland. The roster is good. Can Deshaun come back? I have them going 9-8. I think they missed the playoffs just narrowly. Where do you have Cleveland finishing?
Well, maybe we will disagree because I have them going 6-11.
Okay, well, there's a big one.
I think Kevin Stefanski's pretty betting favorite to be the first coach fired this year, and I don't even think it's his fault. Deshaun Watson was bad last year, and he just hasn't played, and just I don't know. There's just a stink with that whole thing, and I'm not gonna say it's like karma or anything. There still seems like a cloud hanging over their team. I mean they do have a damn good running back, a damn good offensive line, but like it should have looked better last year, and they got no help in the draft this year because they gave their entire franchise to Houston. I mean, the only positive thing I could say about them right now is Dorian Thompson-Robinson looked damn good.
Oh my gosh, that's
Like
the story of the
I was just like, kind of like Jimmy in Vegas. I'm like, Aiden O'Connell looks pretty good. Jim, better stay healthy. And Deshaun, I'm like, if you don't figure it out quick, this guy looks like he can play. Like,
and that's another example of like you were saying with Purdy, like Dorian Thompson-Robinson played like 60 games in college, so of course he's going to be competent.
Yeah, part of me, I mean, it would never happen because of the money in the contract, but like part of me is like, I really hope he wins the job, which he won't because again, the money. But look at their schedule. I mean, to start, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Tennessee. I know Tennessee, they're still trying out Ryan Tannehill, but like Vrabel and the boys ain't a pushover. Baltimore, Niners, okay, they got the Colts, then Seattle. Like, I mean,
it's a tough.
How many of those do they win? And then, like, again, say okay, they probably beat the Colts. Maybe they beat Tennessee. Maybe they beat Pittsburgh. That's in Pittsburgh on Monday Night Football. Like, tough game.
It's an absolute.
I mean, if they're like 2-5
schedule
to start. I mean, yeah. Then okay, they get at Seattle. That's a L. Okay, they get Arizona at home. That's a win. But then at Baltimore, Pittsburgh. Like Denver should be better.
My whole thing is
at the end of the season, they have Rams, Bears, and Texans, like in a 4-week stretch.
I think that's what happened was I had them at like 5-7, and then they finished what would that be, 4-1 in their final 5 games. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they'll probably be eliminated pretty early. I just think it's a soft ending to the schedule. Hopefully at that point Stefanski hasn't been fired.
Maybe that's my hot take. Yeah, I'm.
You are way down.
I honestly feel like sometimes people have forgot about the Browns, but I'm like, I don't. It was ugly last year. And
you can get Cleveland under 9.5 minus 150. That sounds like a Joey Moore bet of the week right there. Very intriguing to him. He's going to pull up his phone right now and see if he can get a little bit of that. The defense there for Cleveland, Jim Schwartz is in as their D coordinator. They added Dalvin Tomlinson from the Vikings, safety Juan Thornhill. I think it's a good unit. Obviously, if Myles Garrett stays healthy and doesn't hit people in the head with a helmet, he's probably a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year every year he's healthy. He reminds me kind of like Aldon Smith for the Niners in like 2011, 2012, where like one guy is so disruptive that the whole defense becomes an elite unit, despite probably not having, elite guys at every level. But I think Cleveland's defense is going to be very good, probably the best in the division, but the offense is a little suspect if you don't have any confidence in your quarterback who's played 5 games in the last 3 years at this point. So it's all about Watson in Cleveland. I have Cleveland going 9-8, kind of backing into a winning record there. Joey has them at 6-11.
I'm just looking at their depth chart. They had, according to ESPN, they got Dorian Thompson-Robinson as the 4th QB. I'm like, how's that possible?
No, he is ahead of Kellen Mond. I can tell you that right now.
And Josh Dobbs.
And he should be ahead of Dobbs as well. Of all the players I've seen this preseason, he has got to be the most impressive.
He made the Hall of Fame game like a little something.
And he was on Hard Knocks the week later because they played against the Jets. Yeah. And Aaron Rodgers was just, absolutely dumbstruck.
Good guy, Aaron. Aaron's like, oh, he's my guy. I just love him. Just, West Coast guy,
He's like, dude is a beast. And he was right. I mean, really impressive from Robinson. I think he should be the second string quarterback entering the year. And if Watson gets off to a slow start, yikes. Pittsburgh, the last team in the AFC North for us to go through. I don't think anybody has them making the playoffs. Their over-under is 8.5. They're plus 475 to win the division. obviously it's Kenny Pickett here in year 2. Mike Tomlin back for year 1,000 at head coach there in Pittsburgh. He hasn't won a playoff game in a long, long time, but I think he's still got very good job security given year in, year out. He gets the best out of this team, but it's getting to be, put up or shut up time. It's been, I believe, since 2015 since the Steelers have won a playoff game. Yes, they've had a winning record every year, but might be a little tiny bit of hot seat action there for Tomlin in Pittsburgh. In 2022, they were 26th in scoring offense, 11th in scoring defense. On offense, they really haven't added much. I mean, it's literally just Allen Robinson. Last year was a 24th ranked passing attack, and all they add is Allen Robinson, who's at the very tail end of his career. It's basically, a year 2 leap from Pickett, and Pickens would be the only scenario where I can see that offense being great. I am super high on George Pickens, as I know you are, but I mean, Pickett, I didn't see enough last year to think that there's going to be this massive year 2 leap.
Would you have him going again?
I actually have him going 9-8, but it's like Cleveland. Where
Oh, see, okay, we're not that. I actually have them going 10-7 and making the playoffs.
Oh, wow. Okay. Not a lot of people have Pittsburgh making it, so that's
like
make the case.
I'm a little the whole 2-glove thing with Kenny Pickett is still a little weird, will always be weird, but I actually think I'm not gonna say he's gonna be like a top 10 or 15 guy, but I think he's gonna have a even better year than he did. He had a not terrible year last year.
Mm-hmm.
And
he finished strong.
Yeah, Najee Harris, solid running back, although the guy behind him, Jalen Warren, is getting a whole lot of run. And I read an article the other day saying he should be the number 1 guy. I love George Pickens. I think he's the number 1. I think Deontay Johnson's decent number 2. And I mean, especially if TJ Watt stays healthy. I mean, I think Pittsburgh. I was shocked at their record last year. What they finish? I mean,
9-8 last year. Yeah.
Yeah, and they should not have. They were not a 9-8 team. And again, I'm just going back to their schedule. Like, wishful thinking, they start out with a loss against the Niners, but okay. Cleveland, Vegas, Houston, Baltimore. Okay, tough game, but possible. Rams, Jaguars will be tough. Tennessee, Packers without Aaron Rodgers. They also get Arizona, New England, Indy. Oh, and then they finished with Cincinnati, Seattle, Baltimore. That's tough.
They finished. I also I believe I had them 9-5 and then losing their final 3 games. So at one point this season, I do think Pittsburgh is going to be ranked pretty high in the AFC. It's a tough end of the schedule, but you like Pickens. I love Pickens.
I think Mike Tomlin. I mean, he's obviously solid, but people are kind of. I watched something saying like, does he get credit for never having a losing season? I'm like, that's a good point. I don't know if he gets credit for it, but like, I mean, they're going to be solid. They're going to be I think they're definitely going to be better than Cleveland, but I think they finished 10-7, which I believe I had the Ravens finish 10. But I think Pittsburgh somehow wins a tiebreaker with like conference record.
Okay, wow. So for defense for them last year, they were 11th in scoring defense. They had the former Viking Patrick Peterson. They had a bunch of defensive draft picks, including Joey Porter Jr., who's probably going to be the corner opposite.
Yeah.
So and
that was cool. He got that pick and handed it to his dad.
Yeah, that was a really cool moment.
And then, but even their other guy, they took the tackle, Georgia.
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean,
you put Minkah Fitzpatrick and TJ Watt fully.
Minkah Fitzpatrick had a damn good year last year.
I mean, if those two are healthy, Pickett just kind of needs to be a game manager in certain situations, especially with how easy that schedule is. So I got him 9-8. You got him 10-7. Joey is definitely high on Pittsburgh. And I am high on Baltimore. He is down on Cleveland, and I have them right about where expected. So AFC North, we're both in agreement that it is Cincinnati's division. As long as Burrow's there and healthy, that should be their division. I got Baltimore nipping at their heels, and you got Pittsburgh nipping at them. So that's our thoughts on the AFC North. Let's pop over to the AFC West, and we all know who's going to win the AFC West. I think any result other than
Raiders.
Yeah, I got the Raiders going 15-2, and no, I'm just kidding.
You can turn off the Xbox.
Yeah, turn off Madden, which I just came out today. I don't know if I'm going to spend the money on that, given that they never update.
I actually even bought the deluxe one. I splurged. I wish I didn't, because honestly, the game's horrible.
Yeah, EA is just they put the bare minimum into it every year. but we always
But like
buy
me,
it.
like I just keep buying it for the roster. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Still, like I can't throw the ball with Jimmy anymore. Like it's over.
You're like, I need Purdy to be
Yeah.
updated to like 80 overall instead of 65 or whatever they had him at. When
He was terrible last year. Like it pissed me off because he'd play with him and it's like he played like Mr. Irrelevant. I'm like, fix it. Come on, Chad Ochocinco. Don't you run this now? But yeah.
All right, let's start with the AFC West. Kansas City's over-under is at 11.5, shaded majorly to the over. They're minus 200 to win the division. By far, the biggest favorite to win any division in the NFL, minus 200. Last year, they were the number one offense in the NFL in passing, scoring, and total offense. They were 16th on defense, but it's not usually a huge deal when you're number one in literally everything on the offensive side of the ball. Donovan Smith is kind of the only new face on offense. He's the left tackle going to be tasked with replacing Orlando Brown. I guess rushing attack would be the only concern on offense for them. Last year, 16th wasn't great. Clyde Edwards-Helaire would definitely be considered a bust at this point, I believe. Pacheco has basically taken over as RB1 with Jerick McKinnon as the third down back. And then on defense, former 49er Charles Omenihu is kind of the only veteran add. I think the defense in Kansas City might see a little bit of a slip here. Not enough, though, to like knock them off their perch at the top of the AFC, but I do have them going 12-5 and being the number one seed in the AFC because they play Cincinnati and Buffalo at home. I think they win both of those. I think they have the tiebreaker over both if necessary. I got Kansas City as the one seed, 12-5. Joey, I'd imagine you're in a similar spot.
Yeah, 13-4. I mean, what else? They're the best team in the league.
And really have been since 2018.
I mean, just like someone asked Mahomes, I saw like, "Are you a dynasty?" And credit to him, he was like, "No, not yet." But we're like that's a whole other debate. By the way, I saw this is really good. Like, what's your what are your like qualifications for like it's just a sports dynasty?
Mm-hmm.
Because he said like, "Oh, you win one or something like your dynasty." I'm like, no, it's more than that. But anyways. No, they're the best team in the league.
I think, by the way, just an aside, I say 3 titles in a 5-year span or better would be a dynasty.
See, I said that. I think 3 out of 4 is like, okay, you're more than like a dynasty. I think 3 out of 5, and then but my other thing is one of them has to be like you have to go back to back at least once. Like if you win 3 out of like I think the Spurs like one did that, like one every like the Giants did. Like you have to if you win 3 out of 5, like one of those has to be back to back. That's my
that's
my
your
dynasty.
TED talk.
Yeah, it's my TED talk. But no, I don't Kansas City. Andy Reid is the best coach in the league. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. Travis Kelce might be the best weapon in the league. I mean, their only problem is if they get Chris Jones signed. Whatever they do.
It's incredible. That's their biggest problem.
Which it sounds like, honestly, like from what I've kind of just read and watched on TV and stuff, I don't think they're gonna pay him. Like they just seem like one of those teams that's got like a philosophy and like we got Andy Reid, we got Mahomes, and like Kelce, and like everything else replaceable, 1,000,000% replaceable. Like you, Chris Jones, are one of them, which sucks for him. But I mean, not really, because he'll get paid by somebody. Just might not be the Chiefs. But yeah, I think I don't know what else there to say.
Yeah, Kansas City by far and away the best team. I think
minus 200. Yeah, I mean it should be minus like 400. I mean,
I think that's such a solid bet. You know, minus 200 to win the division on Kansas City feels like free money. But
I honestly, it feels like it's free money to say that the number one seed, like you said.
Yeah,
I like
when you get both.
They get Denver and the Raiders 4 times.
Yeah, and they also get the 2 toughest games on their schedule are at home. So, you know, I think
is Mahomes still like undefeated on the road in the division?
He definitely is. I believe they went 3-0 last year in the division, so he's got to be like, what is it, like 18-0 or something? It's some ridiculous thing. I mean, the AFC Championship's been played in Arrowhead since we were. I mean, it's insane.
It used to be always at Gillette, and now it's always at Arrowhead. The AFC Invitational, the AFC Kansas City Invitational.
Yeah, where's it gonna? Who's coming into town this year in late January? We'll see next week when we make our season predictions. Okay, let's go to our next one. I have the Chargers finishing second in the division. Their over-under is 9.5. They're plus 335 to win the division, so they're the second shot there. It's Justin Herbert, and it's Brandon Staley coming back. I think Brandon Staley is on the mega, super, ultra hot seat. They were 13th in offense, 21st in defense last year. Basically, completely unchanged on offense from 2022 roster-wise. The only difference is Kellen Moore comes in, and he's tasked with elevating Herbert, hopefully to like an MVP level, and then Eckler's got to stay healthy. I think if Herbert takes another leap and if Eckler is healthy, this team does have a very high ceiling. I just always keep their ceiling just a little bit lower than that for two reasons. Number one, the defense has regressed each year under Brandon Staley, and this is a guy who hangs his hat on.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'm like, that's a huge worry, number one. And then number two, this is, of all the teams in sports, of all the 128 teams or whatever in professional sports, this is the team with the least home field advantage in America. It's insane. Every single game they play is a road game. And I don't think you can like say, hey, I see them going 13-4 because I just love Herbert and I love this roster. I'm like, cool. Show me a game on their schedule where they won't have a silent count at home. Like it's a tough situation for Chargers fans in that yet again, for the 5 millionth straight year, you have a very intriguing roster. You have a very good quarterback. You have a coach who I think is okay, but I mean, how can you be expected to go any more than 9-8, which is where I have them, when you're playing basically every game on the road? Joey, where do you have the Chargers?
I'm a little higher, very little higher, 10-7. I really like the guy they took out of TCU, Quentin Johnson, the receiver. Big, long guy. Yeah, I mean, they have the second best quarterback in the division, arguably. Well, I guess in the AFC might still be like fourth or fifth, but they're so much better than the NFC. I mean, Justin Herbert is really good. I mean, they have, for being a team that underachieves every year, I mean, partially due to injuries, partially due to what many people would call suboptimal coaching.
Chargering.
Yeah. I mean, they have stars everywhere, offense and defense. But yeah, like you said, the home field disadvantage is a problem. But I still think they're too talented to not go 10-7 and make the playoffs.
I mean, had they held on last year in Jacksonville and not completed that epic collapse, they probably would have put up a pretty good fight in Kansas City. I think, obviously.
Yeah, they did earlier in the season that year. I remember that first. I think that was the first ever game on Amazon.
I almost feel like they play better on the road too. Like when I watch them on the road, I'm like, damn, this is a pretty good team. But then when they're at home, you're like, man, this is wild. Like they're in their home stadium. Their logo is on the 50-yard line. But like,
what's crazy? Yeah, what's crazy too is like, I don't know how I feel about like MetLife with the Giants and Jets, but even when they're at home, not even just the crowd part of it. It doesn't even feel like it's their stadium. It feels like the Rams stadium. Maybe it's because they played there and won a Super Bowl there, the Rams. But it still just doesn't even feel like they have a home, which looks like it bleeds itself onto the field. But yeah, I still think they go 10-7 and make the playoffs as probably the 7 seed. Yeah.
All right, I got them just missing out on the playoffs, but 9-8. So you got them 10-7, maybe squeaking in there. Next team in the division, Denver. Their over/under set at 8.5. They're plus 675 to win the division if you really believe in Sean Payton and the resurrection of Big Russ. Last year they were 32nd in offense, 14th on defense. 14th on defense with 32nd offense. Hell of a performance by Ejiro Evero and that Denver defense in the face of just an abject disaster on the other side of the ball last year. So Nathaniel Hackett's out. Sean Payton's in. Big Mike McGlinchey is in. Samaje Perine.
Is he? Is he? I think he's missed most of training camp, either with personal leave or injuries. I'm like, oh, come on, Mike.
Is he going to be there week 1? We shall see. Marquez Callaway, Troutman, all these former Saints are joining Sean Payton there in Denver. It's a complete overhaul, but this is Russ in year 12. And I mean, we got to find out what he is. I think we'll know in the first 4 weeks whether Sean Payton can kind of get Russ back to what he was, pre-Broncos days, or if this is really it for him and he's got to start looking to the future. On defense, Ejiro Vero's out. Vance Joseph, the former Bronco head coach, is in at the defensive coordinator spot. I still think this is an elite unit. I think they did a great job in 2022, all things considered. For me, really nobody behind Pat Surtain is like an elite talent, but it's still a very good defense at all three levels. I have them going 8-9 just because of, number one, they got to play Kansas City and the Chargers twice. And number two, I mean, it's just tough to turn that situation around that quickly. I do think they'll be better, but 8-9 and missing the playoffs for me.
I got them going 7-10. I think they'll be better. Although Russ did look good against the Niners from what I watched on TV Saturday night. Yeah, I mean, Sean Payton is going to make them better. Russ, boy, it was tough last year. It's hard for me to see them making the playoffs after what I saw last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think Pat Surtain is the best cover corner in the league. I think Javonte Williams hopefully staying healthy. He was. I mean, I think I had him on a couple fantasy teams.
When he's healthy.
Yeah, when he's healthy, I think he's really good. Their offensive line was a big problem last year. I mean, I'd like to say they fixed it with Big Mike, but who knows? Yeah, I think they'll be better. The whole Sean Payton, I didn't know he was such a stiff. I kind of knew he was, but I didn't know he's such uptight about training camp. You heard the story about the like no bucket hats, like no like nothing on the sideline. We're a business. This is a job. Denver Broncos. Yeah, I heard about he's got this whole thing about bucket hats.
Interesting.
And this is not a retreat. This is training camp.
The whole war of words with him and Hackett was wild too. Like a guy who just
I don't care if you thought Nathaniel Hackett was just like the worst coach ever, which he might have been, but why? Like Sean Payton, why? I don't like you've done so. Like the only thing that can do is just people think you're a dick.
Yeah,
people
terrible.
Think you're a dick.
It was kind of a terrible way to start because that whole situation is like obviously Denver fans want to love the guy and Russell Wilson wants to love the guy, and he literally starts his tenure by being like, the guy before me was the dumbest shithead who ever lived. I was like, dude, what are we doing? You don't work for Fox anymore. You're a head coach getting paid $20 million a year in Walmart money. Like, it's a business, as he says. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, yeah, I don't get it. I think they'll be better, but
not great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I have them 8-9. You have them 7-10. Definitely not looking at them as any kind of a contender. Next up is the Raiders. They're over under set at 6.5, shaded majorly to the under. They're 13-1 to win the division. Only Arizona is a bigger long shot to win their division than the Raiders are, obviously, because they got such a juggernaut at the top there. 12th on offense, 26th on defense last year. Carr out, Jimmy in, Jacoby Myers, DeAndre Carter. Philip Dorsett in, rookie tight end Michael Myers going to have to replace Waller. Injuries were a huge problem last year, probably likely to be problem again this year, given their quarterback just cannot stay healthy. He hasn't at any point in the last, 4 or 5 seasons. There's always an injury worry with Jimmy. But I mean, you are pretty confident in their backup quarterback situation. So I don't think
Aiden O'Connell looks good. Aiden O'Connell looks good.
The one thing I want to point out about the Raiders is they have a schedule that I believe is actually pretty favorable. Their defense was awful in 2022 in all facets, but Max Crosby is probably the best pure pass rushing defensive end in the league right now. I believe he finished like 6th in the NFL 100. So clearly he has the respect of his fellow players who think this is probably the best D end in football right now. Rookie defensive end Tyree Wilson is going to be instant impact, and then the secondary is a bit of a red flag. I think McDaniels may already be on the hot seat. I know it's a long-term project and they're trying to be Patriots West, but every other team that's tried to do that, like the Lions and whoever, it's always been a disaster. I do, and you're going to hate this, have them going 8-9 and finishing last in the division, but I have them 8-9 just because the schedule is relatively favorable. I would imagine you have them a little bit lower than that.
I think they go 6-11.
Okay.
And yeah, Jimmy ain't gonna play the whole season, but who knows? That could be a good thing. Still love you, Jimmy. I love their pick. The Tyree Wilson is from Texas Tech. I loved him in the draft. Yeah, I think Max Crosby's a baller, but the rest of that defense is holes
Sus.
everywhere. Yes, sus. I thought the Darren Waller trade was nice because he was just a whole lot of cap for a whole lot of not being available.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Mayer, a lot of people had him as the number one tight end coming out, but I don't think he was the first tight end taken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs, who knows how happy he is if he even shows up and plays. Their offensive line is, I think, okay. Devontae Adams' number is going to go way down. Jimmy doesn't throw the ball past 5 yards. Yeah, no, I
Not looking
Josh,
great there.
like you said, everything Patriots West, Patriots North, Patriots South, Patriots New England has just been a flaming pile of sus ever since forever. But it's been a
It seems that the Patriot way only works when you have Tom Brady, including in New England.
I said this before. The Patriot way is the TB12 method. That's what it is. As soon as TB12 is gone, you have no way.
It didn't work for Crennel in Houston. It didn't, and in Kansas City as well. It didn't work for Mangini in New York. It didn't work for Patricia in Detroit. I mean, Bill O'Brien is probably the only one that's had a modicum of success. But man, I mean, the Patriot way not having a good run here the past few years. So you got the Raiders finishing 6-11. I got them finish 8-9. I don't think a soul alive is going to pick them to make the playoffs, given how challenging that division is. So that's our AFC West preview. We got KC on top. We got the Chargers second. We got Denver third, and we got the Raiders bringing up the rear. Let's head over to Joey's Jack and the Bum of the Week. A bunch of candidates again this week. Let's start off with Will Levis, who was inactive for the game against the Vikings last Saturday. All reports out of camp are that he is the clear QB3. This is a guy who was talked about as possibly the number 1, number 2 overall pick, 3-4 months ago. And now he cannot beat out Malik Willis for the number 2 job. All sorts of reports out of Titans camp that it is Ryan Tannehill's job. And if he falters, it may not even be Levis who gets that shot to replace him. Like, big slide for Will Levis. So I had to put him on the list. That guy, something has happened to him in the last 4 or 5 months. And then Jake Moody. I told you about my report from my buddy who was at Niners training camp saying, man, he is just banging these 50-yarders that are just amazing. But he's like, hey, electric leg. But a lot of reports out of Niners camp and in the game on last Saturday, man, little shaky there for Moody. Hoping he's not Roberto Aguayo 2.0, but I mean, it's a possibility that he could be.
He needed that kick to win the week 2 the preseason. Woo! He needed it. He needed it.
It's been rough, man. It reminds me of Daniel Carlson with the Vikings. Like, he was so bad so early.
Wait a minute. Wait. You mean the Raider guy?
He was the Vikings draft pick.
No, wait. I did not know that. Whoa. Oh, my God.
We picked him, I believe, in the 5th round in 2019 or 2018 to replace Blair Walsh. And then he was awful in preseason. He missed, I believe, 2 extra points in week 1. And then Zimmer was like, can't deal with this guy. Cut him. Raiders picked him up, and now he's elite, of course. But I don't want that for your boy Jake.
The guy kicks rockets. Yeah. I've had Daniel Carlson, I think, like 3 straight years in fantasy. And oh, my. He's not Justin Tucker, but, boy, he's
in the top 2 or 3 for sure. So who are you going with? Yeah, Jack and the Bum of the Week.
Jack and the Bum of the Week. I can't give it to you, Bum of the Week, if you make a game-winning kick, even though you missed an extra point again. And it's preseason. Who cares? Jack and the Bum of the Week. Let's go. You suggested this, and well, there's nothing else going on, and it is kind of a bummer. But Jack and the Bum of the Week is preseason football in general. I was even just thinking preseason injuries, because there sure as heck seems a lot of guys are going on stretchers. Patriots Packers ended early because player got taken out on a stretcher. I would say preseason ties. Like, what are we doing? Like, just don't even play. I was even watching them. I was like, I can't wait until we go to 2 preseason games and 18 regular season. I wish we could do 2 preseason and 16 regular season because it makes the games more valuable.
Yeah.
But money talks and that shit won't happen. But yeah, preseason football, kind of a blue ball moment here. We're so close to the regular season. At least we don't have 4. At least there's only 3.
God. Yeah, I remember the bygone days of the Hall of Fame game being in like almost like late July, and you're like, my God, football doesn't start for 5 weeks.
What's interesting is like it'd be like, the NBA or NHL, they have like 82 regular season games. Like 4 preseason games at the time was a quarter of your schedule. That'd be like playing 20 preseason games in one of those sports. I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. That'd be like if spring training was like, what would that be, 45 games long?
Yeah.
That would be.
I feel like it is pretty long, but I could kind of see it in baseball, get your timing and stuff. I don't know. For some reason, it seems less weird in baseball, but preseason football, why on God's green earth were we playing 4? Why are we playing 3? Let's just get down to 2.
Mm-hmm.
That way, that's 2 less games. Jake Moody can miss kicks in.
I get it. It's like, man,
think about that. Like, how many people always say like, oh, we need 3, 4 games to like, see what guys got.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, like what if there's too many games for some of these guys? Like, what if that like, I almost gave the Jack in the Bum of the week to Ronnie Bell. 2nd week in a row, Niners guy hits him right in the hands, pops up for a interception. But other than that, I think he's been damn good as a guy that we took in the 6th round. He's like a little baby Debo.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you catch the ball, Jake Moody, make some kicks, and let's get this preseason over with.
Exactly. It's like, man, preseason, it's like, I get that you got to figure out who your 3rd tight end is. You got to figure out who your, 7th or 8th defensive lineman on the roster is.
Who's going to be the gunner on the kickoff? We're just going to kick into the end zone anyway.
Could we not figure this out in scrimmages and practices? Like, oh my gosh. So
although
there it is.
I will say last night, watched some highlights of it, and I saw Colin Coward talk about it this morning. Like, he was like, there was more effort in that game than like the entire NBA regular season.
It's so true. Everybody's fighting for a job.
Like, he's just like, you want to know why these ratings are so damn high? Like, just watch last night. Like, he was like, the Baltimore Ravens actually cared to keep their 24-game preseason winning streak alive.
Yeah, that preseason Monday Night Football game probably got better ratings than the other 3 sports, like championships, like NBA Finals, Stanley Cup final, and then the World Series probably didn't rate as well as preseason Monday Night Football last night. It's insane. But
I can't believe it was Buck and Aikman too. I mean, I guess who else would it be? But I'm like, you guys calling preseason? Like, oh,
like we'll take it. We'll take it. All right, preseason.
What else am I gonna do on a Monday? Watch my kid?
Yeah, he can watch with you. Why not? Preseason football, Jack in the Bum of the week. Let's go over to my You Like That picks of the week. I have to take Baltimore over 10.5 plus 105. I have them finishing 12-5. I think that's very good value. I think this is a team that, yes, they may have a challenging schedule. Yes, playing Cincinnati twice is difficult. But I think the continuity there with Harbaugh, we saw yesterday. I mean, Harbaugh teams are just buttoned up. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's preseason, regular season, postseason. The postseason game last year where they had Huntley and didn't even have Lamar, they were so close to winning that game.
Man, Tyler Huntley was a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, what does the Pro Bowl mean in 2023? But yeah, I got to go Baltimore over 10.5 plus 105. I think that's, a solid bet. I think they get to at least 11-6 given their schedule. And then I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm taking the Raiders over 6.5 plus 110. I have them finishing 8-9. I just think the schedule is so cake, and I think there's so much pressure on Josh McDaniels that you have to take a look at it here. Not a lot. I remember at the beginning of the offseason, they were set at 7.5. It's fallen to 6.5, and now it's fallen to 6.5, where the over pays you more money than you bet in. So I'm like, okay, at this point, I'll take it. So I'll take Raiders over 6.5 for my AFC West pick. So there's your You Like That picks for the AFC North and AFC West preview pod. We're going Baltimore over 10.5 plus 105, and the Raiders over 6.5 plus 110. Joey, it's time for your Feels Great Baby, your wildest take you feel best about currently. What are you going with here? I think you're keeping it close to home.
Yeah, I feel pretty great about Nicky Bosa signing pretty soon. I saw on an update that he was in New York City today, which he doesn't live there. He lives in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. But his agent is in New York City, and people are speculating that he flew there to sign a big fat check or a big contract that will include a big fat check. So wishful thinking again. I'm hoping he signs pretty soon because, well, I'm sure he's in phenomenal shape, but he needs to get into football shape, and just get the good vibes going. Bring him back home, and I fully expect him to be the highest paid defensive player ever. It sounded like from day one he wanted to get paid more than Aaron Donald, which with the way the cap's going up, I mean, like, why not? I mean, your money could be spent in worse places, like you could spend it on trade.
Yeah, if not him, who deserves it more than that guy with the way he's played?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that you could say is if he's been healthy, but he's proven he's been healthy. He makes everyone else better. I mean, they need him. I mean, honestly, they have so many good players on defense, but at the same time, I'm still kind of shocked they're the number one defense because, and to get super off topic, but they have such a gaping hole in the interior. And I know they signed Javon Hargrave, but the Niners are going to get run on up the middle consistently, especially if any of those guys get hurt. And it only makes it worse. The one game he missed last year was Atlanta, and Marcus Mariota and the Atlanta Falcons just ran up and down the field. But yeah, feel pretty good about him getting signed and getting back to business.
He's the straw that stirs the drink.
Whatever. Show up Saturday before week 1. I don't care. He'll be ready to go. Just don't miss week 1.
Yeah, defensive player.
And I don't think the Niners wanted to miss it. So it's just somebody like Jonathan Taylor, zero leverage. Nick Bosa, I think the Niners are like, shit, we might have to write a blank check. Uh-oh.
That's the difference between playing defensive end and running back.
What are you gonna say if you're Minnesota, with Justin Jefferson?
Exactly, just a blank check for him too. It's like if you're a 99,
he says I want, what did Tyreek get? 30? He says I want 32, 33, hell, 35. The cap's going up. I mean, unless you're making 10 million more than the second best receiver, okay, bring it down a little bit, bud. But yeah, what are you gonna do?
As long as the cap keeps going up, there's no problem with paying the best player on your team, whatever the new going
Other
rate.
Guys see it too. Other players on the team see it. If you don't pay him, what the hell are you going to do to me?
Mm-hmm. So you think, if you had to guess, what do you think the deal is going to be? You think it's going to be 4 for 1?
I think it's going to be, what does that come down to?
35 a year?
No, I mean, it could. I think it's going to be 33 and a half, 33, 30. Because what does Aaron Donald make? 31?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it'll be just a couple million more than him, and
so
the guaranteed. I think the guaranteed is going to be 125.
Wow, he's gonna get paid. They're gonna back up the Brinks truck at the Bosa household and just say, "Here you go."
Get more than his brother.
Yeah, because he can stay on the field a lot more than Joey.
Joey Bosa had a tough end of the season last year, throwing his helmet and everything.
Yeah, and I believe he only played 5 games last year, Joey Bosa. But all right, so you think Nick Bosa's re-signing? You think it's happening soon?
I hope
your prediction is going to be what? 4 years, 132 million for 33 million a year. So good times for the Bosa brothers right now. Extremely high paid and looking like a good season for the Niners ahead if they can get that one thing off their plate and dealt with. All right, so that's your feels great, baby. Nick Bosa's ending his holdout and signing soon. Let's close the pod. Let's discuss anything that happened outside of football this week. I wanted to do, so we always do these where we just it all started when we did a Thanksgiving pod and we were like, oh, let's talk about our favorite Thanksgiving foods. I had this thought the other day. I went to a A's Dodgers game recently, and I just walked around the entire stadium. I also did this in Coors Field in Denver when we saw the Rockies against against the Yankees. This was about a month ago. I always do a full lap so I can see every single food stall in the stadium and then make my call. I get to the stadium early, I do a full lap, and then I'm like, all right, this is what I need. So I think we got to do our top 5 attending a sporting event foods. And I mean, this is going to be a hell of a draft here. We can obviously pick, the same thing twice. So if my number 1 is your number 1, I get it. But I'm gonna start us off here.
You start with 5 or 4?
No, I'm starting at number 1. We're gonna go 1 to 5, unless you think you can do. I mean, I can. Let's do 5 to 1. I'm fine with that too, because we'll work our way up to it.
Yeah, we gotta work our way up.
Okay, so I'm going to start with 5. Number 5 for me is the classic chicken tenders and fries. I think you get this at a lot of places. I knew you weren't going to like that one, but a lot of places you can get it pretty decent. That's like kind of my fail safe. I used to always get this at the Shark Tank. I would be like, get me some buffalo chicken with fries and some ranch. I know they can't really screw that up. So that's kind of a staple. I had that at number 5. And by the way, we can't have alcoholic beverages on here. So this is just food or desserts or whatever. So I have this number 5 chicken tenders. What are you going with?
It's a little simple to start, but I like the big giant box of popcorn.
Okay.
I love popcorn loaded with butter. It's not like it's not fancy. It's not fancy, but you can get it everywhere. Cheaper than most.
I will say, just to cut you off here, I have that at number 4. I have popcorn at number 4. I feel like stadium popcorn is a step down from movie theater popcorn, but still good. Still, worthy of a spot on the list. So I had popcorn number 4. What's your number 4?
Like the hottest, saltiest pretzel with cheese you've ever seen.
Do you like when it has like all those big, gigantic grains of salt on it? Okay, I love that too. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Rubbed in butter.
I don't like beer batter though. Like huge beer fan, but like beer battered anything, I don't know. It throws me off.
Mm-hmm.
But just regular, super salted, super cheesy pretzel.
Okay, that's a solid pick. I think that probably would have been my number 6, just behind the chicken tenders. I love a good pretzel at a ball game. Number 3 for me, you're gonna hate this one. I'm going with the soft serve in the helmet that you get at baseball games. I love the dessert. Whenever I go to a game, I always have my, standard food. I have to have a beer and a dog or whatever, and then I'll have, maybe a peanuts or a popcorn. But I always finish with the soft serve in a cup if they have it. If they have it in the helmet, like I got the Dodger helmet the other day, I got the Rockies helmet at Coors Field. Like I always love going just vanilla or vanilla chocolate swirl soft serve. That's going to be my number 3. What are you at number 3?
Hot dog, ballpark dog, big, long,
girthy
sausage.
Yeah.
Prefer like sesame bun. I like the texture. Relish, mustard, onions. Love it.
That's your standard ballpark dog is relish, mustard, and onions. Yeah. So I'll go mustard and sauerkraut if they have it. If they don't have kraut, then I do mustard, relish, onions. That's kind of the classic. As long as there's no ketchup on that thing.
Yeah, no, I don't put ketchup. No
way. I have the dog. I have the dog number 2. So that was my number 2. I will say I like it when it's grilled though. If it's like one of those kind of boiled dogs where then the bun gets soggy.
No, I want it to be like
can't do it.
Yeah, can't do it.
It's got to be on the flat top grill. Right behind where you're making your order, and you see dozens of them just sitting there getting the grill marks. You're like, yes, I need this. So that's my number 2 is the hot dog for sure. And I go kraut and mustard, or I go, the classic mustard, relish, and onions. What are you going number 2?
Kind of like you, like the helmet type, but not ice cream. Loaded nachos.
Okay, I know you're a nacho man.
Nacho, cheesy. I wasn't a jalapeno guy, but now I am. Like I love jalapenos loaded with onions, cheese,
ground beef,
chicken.
Okay.
I love chicken. It could be in a helmet, could not. Doesn't matter. But yeah, love nachos.
Loaded nachos. Okay.
Loaded nachos.
That's going number 2. For me, number 1, drum roll please, it's going to be garlic fries. My absolute favorite.
Shit.
Whenever
God,
I go
see,
to
I
a game,
didn't consider that a food. I consider that like a side. Oh, I love garlic fries.
garlic fries.
Oh, okay.
That's going to be my number
Okay.
one.
If that's a whole, that changes things.
I remember every time I would go
Definitely,
to a
but
Sharks
they're
game.
definitely at least number. They're way ahead of pretzels and popcorn. That's my bad. I totally forgot.
Every time you and I used to go to the Sharks game, I would be like, garlic fries is a must. I'll figure everything else out after that. I hate the fucking San Francisco Giants, but Oracle Park has an unbelievable garlic fry. Coliseum, little soggy. I was at the Dodger game the other day. Their garlic fries, not great, but I mean, good garlic fries at a game, as good as it gets, because you don't really get those a lot of other places. Sometimes you get them at like one of those places that's like craft
They
beer
could
and
either be
burgers
like
or whatever.
done really well or really bad.
But when they're good, they are so
When
good.
they're good, like I could eat just like pound. That's a good. I
Okay.
forgot about that. Okay.
I'm curious what your number one is, because you already got the dog and the nachos off the board.
Chicken and fries at the Sharks game.
Oh, wow. Okay.
See, like I said, I love chicken. I've been getting that for like 15 years. I was getting it when it was like $7, and now it's like 22. But yeah, chicken strips and fries. Oh, I love it. I barbecue ranch. I love the chicken tenders and fries. Put them with cheese. I don't care. I love chicken tenders and fries.
That's always
Love
been
it.
your go-to at the Shark
Love
Tank
it.
for sure.
Love it, love it, love it. But garlic fries, damn. You know what? I'd probably put them above the hot dog.
Wow. All right, garlic fries.
I don't know if they're nachos because again, are they? Do I want to just eat garlic fries? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if
It's
I got
gotta
garlic
go with
fries,
something.
yeah. If I got garlic, like you put the chicken tenders with the garlic fries, I don't
Look
care if
out.
my team loses.
At that point, you're like, I just hope both teams have fun. I'm having a great time.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's it. Yeah, there's a place close to where we live that has a sell like ballpark garlic. It's like a diner place. They sell ballpark garlic fries.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I get them every time with a burger though. Like I couldn't get like them just it. Like
because it feels gross when you get to the bottom and it's nothing but garlic. If you're eating that while you're eating something else,
do you take a spoon to it at the end?
I'll do the little, the pinch. I grab all of it at the end and just go for it. It's it's always garlic and parsley and salt, and it's just so good. Absolutely elite. So garlic fries, my number one. You got the chicken tenders and fries is your number one for ballpark foods. How's it going, man, with fatherhood? Any updates this week before we close the pod? No, it's been how old is he now? Is he a month old?
Today.
Wow.
Oh,
today.
Dude, you want to debate? You want to freaking debate, dude. if my wife Kayla's listening, which she might be, she listened to the whole one last time because she's up for hours on hours on hours at night. And if my mother-in-law is listening, anyone, we had this huge debate.
Okay.
You saw, because you still have Instagram and stuff. Kayla I guess she put out a post the other day, saying like, "Oh, he's 1 month,"
mm-hmm.
and she sent the same picture into the group chat with like me and my parents and my sister.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Oh, that's cute. Yeah, wow, look at him. He's so cute." Blah blah blah. Right? And my dad's just like, "He's not a month." He's like, he's born on the 22nd.
She posted it 3 days early?
Yeah. And so like I thought the same thing, but I'm like, I'm not gonna tell my wife she's wrong in this group chat. Like, but my dad was like, he's not a month, like in the group chat, and no one answers, right?
Yeah.
And so we like later that day, we go to like her family around the corner, about 10 minutes away, and we have this same debate, and it's like literally split down the middle. Because like me, I'm like literally there's one right answer, and he was born on the 22nd, so a month would be the 22nd. Like I don't even know what we're talking about. And then like you had like her and her mom, and like I think maybe like one or two other people. They're all women though, and they must think very similarly. When you count weeks in pregnancy, like a month is just 4 weeks.
Oh,
so
it's been 4 weeks.
It's been 4 weeks since he, which is considered a month in like pregnancy time. And then like that was their argument. I'm like, well, you're not pregnant anymore. Like
He's
I
here.
was like, it'd be the 22nd. I was telling her like when we were all doing dumb cutesy little like, oh, we've been together like 14 months. Did you just pick a random day? Like, no, it was the 22nd every month. Like, she's like, yeah, but it's different. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, I just like, why are you so dumb? Like, just when like I'm married to this. Like, she's like, should I take the post down? I'm like, well, it's too late now. Does it look even dumber? But like, yeah, he's not a month. But yeah, it was like split half. People were like, no, it's 4 weeks, just a month.
It was such a
And he's
cute
like,
picture. She's like, I gotta post it now.
Yeah, and then people were like, well, how many weeks is in a month? I'm like, well, like 4 or like 5, but like it's like somewhere in the middle. Like it's
because there's 52 weeks in a year and there's 12 months, so it's like 4.5 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
A month.
They're like, it's 4 weeks. I'm like, well, it's every month February. That's a perfect 4 weeks. What about the other months? This is a huge debate. It was wild.
I hate to say it, but I gotta go with it's every month on the 22nd. There's no doing 4 weeks.
You don't hate to say it. You just correct. I don't even get it. Like I told her too. I was like, yeah, my birthday's next year. Just guess what day it is.
Yeah, so it's 48 weeks from when it was this year.
Next year it'll be March 20th. Next year it'll be March 16th. The year after that it'll be like March 12th. I don't know. Just keep guessing. And I'll be very upset when you don't know what day it is.
We're sorry, Kayla. We're sorry this had to happen, but I'm sorry. I gotta go. Today is the day that he turns a month old. I just you can't start counting in weeks after the pregnancy. I get during the pregnancy because you'll ask how far along are you, and they're like 29 weeks. Yeah. I'm like, okay, and then I divide by 4 and add a couple. I'm like, okay, so that's what would that be?
Actually, the whole time she was just like, it's a month. I'm like, I just wanted to be like a sophomore high school teacher and be like, can you show me your work?
And that
can you show me how you got there?
Where did you carry the 1 here?
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. So that was the AFC North, AFC West pod. That's the final of our non-premier divisions. We're going. Yeah,
there's
to the
18 weeks in this football season. Could be 2.5 months, 2 months. I don't know. We're just guessing.
Yeah, we're just guessing how many weeks of football there's going to be. It's 4 months, but it's 18 weeks. So kind of tough to do the math there. But next week we got the NFC North and NFC West. We're going to cover my Vikings, Joey's Niners, Evan's Seahawks. We'll be back next week for that. That's the big pod for us as we head towards the 2023 season. Thanks for joining us, everybody, for another episode of the You Like That Feels Great Baby podcast. And we'll see you next week.